I'm Caroline, your host of the podcast, Socially Different. This podcast, we will be talking about life on the road less followed. We'll be talking about childhood trauma, healing, how to overcome. We'll be talking about our relationships, motherhood, because I am a mother. We'll be talking about mental health. We'll be talking about a lot of topics that usually keep people in bondage. I have been able to go through a lot of things at just the age of 28, and God has given me wisdom and knowledge to kind of get through these situations, and I just want to share in hopes to set someone free, and hopefully you guys can share some information on these topics that God has revealed to you. So let's get into it. So last week we did an episode called Socially Different, because that's what this podcast is all about, and it was really more about the chosen experience, which I talked about more towards the end of the episode, so go check that out. And I really just talked about me growing up and being different, being treated different, and then realizing that I was really just the chosen one. So this episode, I'm going to talk about signs that you might be chosen. And let me just say this, it says in the Bible that many are called, but few are chosen. So a lot of people, they hear the gospel, they hear God's voice, they go to church, but there's very few people that are going to really pick up their cross and follow this narrow path and really want out of this life what God has for them. So what I would say is go to God, get revelation about your life from Him. Just don't take my word, but I am just going to share some experiences that I have been through, and I've seen some other people talk about this subject, and the experiences are pretty similar. So like I said, always take it back to God. So let's get into it. This episode is going to be called Signs You Are Chosen. So 1, think back to your childhood. So as I talked about in the last episode, my childhood, I was always picked on. People talked about my voice. People said I was rude and stuck up because I was really quiet. People just always speculated about me. Even people that didn't know me. Those were the worst ones. And as I look back, I felt like Jesus. Not saying that I am Jesus, but I'm saying like how people talked about Him, how people ridiculed Him. That's exactly my same experience as a child. And I can remember even from, the lower grades to the higher grades, people just always had something to say about me, even today. So, people see your light before you even see your light, and God kind of revealed that to me, that's the reason why that was happening to me. And as I have gotten older, I become into, grown woman, I have my own child, I kind of realized that. So it doesn't bother me as much today as it would back then. So that's 1. And then 2 would be that you're the generational curse breaker, the black sheep in your family. I am the first entrepreneur in my family line. And I can always remember, even as a young child as well, I was always the one that my mom didn't have to be on top of when I was doing my schoolwork. I always was searching, or I had a burning desire for something different, to be something greater as a younger child. So that can be a sign. But let's go on to the generational curse breaker. So now you're different, and you just want to do things different than your family. And it's not just about breaking the curse of finances. It can be breaking the curse of mental health. My family deals with depression, deals with anxiety, and God revealed to me that those are really just demonic spirits that are trying to attach themselves to you to get you off course, to get you not to do what it is that God has called you to do. Like I talked about in my Overcoming Anxiety series, so please go check that out. I talked about this, is that the devil wants to knock you off course so that you can't help the people that are attached to you. So you can't see what it is that God is really trying to do through you. So also another one would be about marriage. So my family, I'm just giving examples of my family. A lot of people before me don't have successful marriages, or they get divorced. So you just want something different out of this life, and you are just leaning on God, and you want to take a different path with that. And then also when it comes to family, it's like you also become like the one that people are envious of or jealous of, and it can be like people that are closest to you, like sisters, brothers, mothers, uncles, aunties. So you deal with a lot of that when being the black sheep, generational curse breaker. And then number 3, this is something that really kind of opened my eyes to, just being different. So I grew up in the church as a child. My mom always had me in church. I hated going to church. But, once you get older, high school, you start living in the world. You start participating in doing drugs, like weed. I ain't talking about, that's not my story, but, weed or whatever. And then you start having sex and you just start going out with your friends and stuff like that. At a certain time, God, he really just grabs you up and he redirects your life. That's how it was for me. And I started going back to church in 2018. And at a certain point, you start to feel very convicted about having sex. Even though you maybe still be dabbling in it and stuff like that, you feel a strong conviction when you're doing stuff that you ain't got no business doing. So God will grab you up and surely you will start to want to be different. The world won't faze you. You won't see so much fun in the world because you know that God has such a greater purpose for you. Fornicating, you'll feel so convicted. Like in the last 2 years or so, fornicating has been a no for me. Like I've been celibate for about 5 months now, but that conviction started to come on heavy like in 2020. And it was something that I knew that I couldn't keep doing if I wanted to experience the fullness that God had for my life. So for you, that can be different things, but you'll start to feel a very heavy tug from God in your heart. And then another thing, number 4, I would say would be that you start to see the attacks of the enemy. And you start to see the enemy using people to try to get to you. And you start to understand that. And in the Bible, it says that we don't fight against flesh and blood, but we fight against the principalities, the powers, the darkness. I didn't say it correct, but I'll put it in the description. It talks about how we don't fight, against flesh and blood, but the spiritual realm, there's things that's fighting against us, and you start to see that, and you start to understand, and it builds your character, and it builds your awareness as well, and you're not so quick to be angry at people, and you have better understanding, but it also makes you very vigilant and aware of what's going on around you. And then for 5, I would say would be that God tests us. We have a Job season testing where we just don't know what's going on, and we sometimes feel isolated. We can feel alone. You're dealing with financial things. Your kids might be acting up. Your marriage might be acting up, and then we feel all of these feelings, but also God is really building character. He's testing you. He's building strength. He's building stamina to see if you can withstand, because like it says, many are called, but few are chosen, and few are willing to go through that fire and really stand with God. So those are 5s, and I'm going to run them back real quick. So childhood, for 1. 2, generational curse breaker, the black sheep. 3, when you kind of grow up in the world and then God kind of snatches you up and you start feeling that strong tug in your heart to follow God. 4, you have a sense of the evilness. Your sense of evil is heightened. Your sense of demonic attacks and how the devil used people. Your sense of discernment is heightened. And then 5, God will test you. You will go through a Job season. So if you have been experiencing these, like I said, take everything I said back to God. But let me know if this is you. Like I always tell y'all, share y'all experiences with me. Share if this is helping y'all. Share what y'all want to know. If I can give y'all some insight, I will. But I will see you guys on the next one.